Taking it easy. Is that what life is? Could be. I was on the phone last night with a dear friend who's in the hospital. And this dear friend in the hospital has been really struggling with health for months and months and months. And they've tried every modality, every type of modality they've gone through. Holistic, this doctor, this diet, that diet, and all these type of things. And they're facing these ideas. And so I was called to call them, and I got them, and I was talking. And as I talked, I listened to all the doingness. And I asked a couple questions. I asked the question, did you look at what could be emotionally attached to what you're experiencing? And because I know this individual very well, I know the two emotions. And I said those emotions, have you considered looking at this? And they said, well, I know it's there. I said, understanding what we teach, we understand that the world of physicalness is a creation out of mind. Everything starts with thought. You see, this is where we make it hard. This is where we don't make it easy on ourselves. Because if we were making it easy on ourselves, we would understand, here's the physical effect, so what is cause? It's real interesting. I'll use my wife as an example. It's good to have a wife who gives you much to talk about. My wife is a practitioner. She's a very wise woman. She's engaged in this teaching. But here's another thing about my wife. My wife is human. And in our humanness, we forget. So she's been struggling since sometime last year with this idea of sinuses acting up and build up here and that type of thing. And it's demonstrated in facial swelling and that type of thing. And I brought home a chart the other day, and the chart had associated with your lungs and with the breathing, these are various emotions that might be there behind the scenes. And so I simply asked Jean, I said, would you consider looking at this and see what might be there for you? And so she did. And one of the things, if you've been married as long as I have, I've been married a lot longer than this beard gives me credit for, I realized she doesn't process the same way I do. I process like this. But Jean is a thinker. And so when you're dealing with someone, you plant the seed and you let the seed grow, and it will grow on its own time. So it was a day and a half, 2 days later, I don't remember what. She says, I considered that, and I identified the source. This is when it started, this is what happened, this is what I was feeling, and I had buried those emotions. See, now that it's come to light, healing can happen. See, one of the things that happens is when we're with the doctor, we're doing all these modalities, we're treating symptoms. We're sort of making the cause become bearable, but we're not going into healing until we get to cause. So I want to take it another step forward, okay, because our dear friend Mary, who's not here today, that's normally with the kids, she's got this beautiful little daughter, Indy. And little Indy's throwing up like crazy, and you're saying, what could this little girl have happened to her that she would cause herself to be this sick? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because at that young age, they are not conscious enough to have that happen, but they are susceptible to the consciousness around them. They're susceptible to germs coming from other kids. They're susceptible to what's happening with the other children around the parents, and they attract it. They're not adults yet where they can go back and figure that out. Does that make sense? So consciousness is different for children than it is for adults. We use it differently as we become wiser. So one of the things that popped for me the other day is when I got this. The difference between conscious and unconscious living is whether we create our life or we let the world create an average life for us. You see, if we're not directing our thought, if we're not putting that thought out there on a consistent basis and building a belief on it, the world out there, the collective consciousness that's out there, will create our lives. If you're into politics right now, politics will create your life. I'm doing everything I can to pull back, and it still wants to suck me in. See, when you're attracted to that energy, it creates more of that energy. Well, that's not really what I want. That's not what I want in my life. Because politicians believe that things are limited, and only certain people can have this or certain people can have that. And it's a struggle between this and that all the time. Well, do you know what? We live in a universe that is infinite. And if we're infinite expressions of the universe, we have the ability to experience anything we want. So one of my favorite mantras that I use as I go into meditation is this. I am not my body, I have a body. I'm not my mind, I have a mind. I'm not my thoughts, I have thoughts. I am not my feelings, I have feelings. I am not my sensations, I have sensations. What happens is we identify ourselves that we are these things. And when we identify ourselves as these things, all pain comes. This is the source of all suffering. It is the idea of identifying ourselves with something that we are not. We are a unique, whole, perfect expression of the infinite. We are universal mind, individualized. Now, that point of consciousness that we are, that point of consciousness has a body. It has a mind. It has thoughts. It has emotions. It has sensations. And that point of consciousness can change the body, can change the mind, can change the thoughts, can change the feelings, and can change the sensations. That's the power of creativity. That's why we came forth in physical form to create. I lived the experience, as you all know, for 10 days, that of a Buddhist monk, where I went into silent meditation. What that did for me was it allowed me to clear of all the nonsense. It allowed me to re-tap into the identity that I am source energy. I am that point of consciousness. It allowed me to look at my life and say, what is serving me and what is not serving me? See, that's the critical thing. What is serving me and what is not serving me? What have I bought into that's out there in society that is not serving me? And that's the question we ask. What is serving me, expressing my gift, my way of being of service? And we answer all our questions on that. See, you're all unique. So you have different ways of being in service. You have different ways of being the gift in the world. But only you can determine that. So I had a woman call me from one of the chambers that I go to, and she came up to me and she said, Lee, I'm an empath, and I want to bring that into the world. What should I do about it? And you know, everyone thinks now that I have a beard, I'm very wise, and that I have all these answers. I have a lot of answers for me. I don't have answers for you. And what I said to this beautiful woman is I said this: the last thing you do before you go to sleep at night is you ask the question, what is in my highest interest of being of service to use this gift? And allow that which is in you to guide you. See, people say, well, what does your wife say about your beard? You know, I'm growing this beard, first time in my life. She's never seen me with this facial hair. And she says, what do you think? What does your wife think about that? Well, let me just say this. I really don't care. I really don't care. And a lot of women are looking at me like, oh, whoa. Well, honey, I've been married 43 years and I'm happy. She's happy. The question is the beard serving? Or ask the question, is it hurting me? It could be neutral. The key thing is as we do things, we've got some teenagers in the room. I remember being a teenager, how I wanted to fit in so bad. And how fitting in so bad, I would do things just because someone else is doing it. And I didn't do that. I was never a part of a particular group in high school. I was always in between. You know, I was the person that was in between because I wasn't willing to do what everyone else was doing. I didn't know why. I just knew it wasn't going to be me. I would say to the teenagers, I've now been out of high school, God, so many years. So many years, 46 years, something like that. I can't tell you why I would ever have done anything to want to fit in with anybody in high school. I can't tell you why I would have cared. Because what I've come to understand is we're all on a unique path. We're not meant to fit in. Does that make sense? We're meant to be unique. And if they don't accept us, well, that's their loss. Do you see what I'm getting at? When you're your uniqueness, people can embrace you for who you are. But until you're your uniqueness, no one can embrace you. Let me go to this. Let me talk about the steps to consciousness, the steps that we're living. We understand that there's a power within us, do we not? If we understand there's a power within us, then we've got to believe there's a power within us. We've got to know that there's a power within us. Is that right? So that's step number one, is to come and connect and know there's a power within us. And we do that through meditation. Meditation allows us to put aside our humanness and connect with that divine. Once we've got that power, what's the next thing we can do? We've got to imagine things beyond where we are. We've got to see things beyond the status quo. We've got to go into imagination. That's our gift. That's what we do that no other species that we're aware of does. We have the ability to see things as they are not. So we imagine the power. Now, once we imagine the power, now comes the critical point, because everyone in here is imagining all the time. Now you've got to decide. You've got to make a decision that this decision is who I am going to be. Once we make that decision, now it's the process of becoming. This is the process. The process of becoming is the process of building belief. We go back to all the great teachers. It is done unto us as we believe. So once we understand there's a power within us, and this power within us, oh, it's so good. This is just such perfect timing. Get this. Our work is in our consciousness, and it's where all creation takes place. This is where we work. Constantly, we're working in consciousness. We're not the doingness, it's this that we're changing, our mind that we're changing. It's that conscious mind that brings us what we want. And then we go into this. This is one of my favorite new affirmations by Raymond Charles Barker. It is, there is a power in us, or you can phrase it, there's a power in me, acting through me, acting for me, causing me to accomplish all that I want. Think about what that's saying there. There's a power in me. It's acting through me. So it's not me doing it. It's the power in me that's doing it. And it's always going to be for me. Why is it going to be for me? Because it's going through my belief system. Who's in charge of my belief system? I am. I'm in charge of my belief system. No one controls your beliefs but you. You may have given away that power because you've been living unconsciously. You've allowed things to come in. And here's the beauty of it. We can change at any time in our life. It doesn't matter what sex we are, how old we are, what ethnicity we are, what condition our body's in. We can change our belief right here, right now, and we can become. And I want to say this. This is so clear. This is work. This is an everyday, every moment job. One of the things as I sat in Vipassana, this affirmation came to me. You know, you're sitting there, you're in silence, you're scanning your body, you're doing all that stuff. Your mind is still going, you know. And in my mind, my creative spirit said this: with every breath, I live more abundantly. And I just started to breathe that in. Just do that for a second. As you breathe and go, with every breath, I live more abundantly. Now take that a little bit further. With every breath, I experience perfect health. With every breath, I am kinder and more loving. With every breath, I embrace my uniqueness. These are words we should be saying to ourselves when we're not doing something that's of value. So if you're driving along or you're just walking, speak truth into the world, truth that you want in your life. If you're seeking abundance, with every breath, I breathe more abundance. And as you start to gather that concept in your mind, anything that is not abundant will no longer be accepted in your mind because you're breathing in. With every breath, I experience more abundance. And it becomes painful to see things that are not abundant. If you're doing with health, the same thing happens. It could be with every breath. Here's a great one. With every breath, I get greater clarity. Because most of the time, what we're dealing with when we have an issue come up is our lack of clarity. If we had clarity, we would know where to go. So with every breath, I get greater clarity. You see, this is using it. So we understand there's a power within us. We imagine what we want to see different in our lives. We build our belief on it. And then we live in gratitude. We live in gratitude. We live as if. We live with that feeling sensation. Remember, a feeling is something we create. We don't want the material object. We don't want the Lexus. We don't want the Mercedes. We don't want the blonde supermodel. Some of us might. We want the feeling that we've associated with the thing. Now, you can have the feeling and not have the thing. You see, we've been conditioned, we've been conditioned to believe that the thing causes the feeling. In reality, the feeling causes the thing. That is something you want to take out of this talk, right there. The thing doesn't cause the feeling. It's your feeling that causes the thing. So it's up to you. How your life demonstrates is all up to you. I really don't care how your life demonstrates. Do you want to know why I don't care? Because you're a perfect, whole, complete expression of God. How can I care about what you demonstrate when all the power of the world is centered right where you are? Right where you are right now. All the power that ever existed is right where you are. And you get to choose. If I cared about what you were experiencing, I would be denying your right to free choice. Whether you're choosing it consciously or unconsciously, that's none of my business. I am simply here to present to you ideas to consider, to say, oh, maybe there's something there I might want to bring into my world. You see, I'm not your guru. I'm a teacher that opens a door and says, can you see this differently? Can you see this differently? Is there anything here you might use to change your life? Because the whole time I'm doing this with you as a teacher, I'm also the student in my own life. And I wouldn't want you to confine me by your beliefs. Therefore, I'll never confine you by mine. I consider that the ultimate love. I consider that agape. And I invite you this week to go within and find the agape in you. The unconditional love that is striving with everything in its breath to come out and to be with you. I know who you are, and I see magnificence. I feel who you are, and I see even greater magnificence. You are the perfection. You are the oneness. You are whole, and you are perfect. You are strong, and you are powerful. You are kind, and you are loving. You live in harmony, and you are grateful. That's who you are. Anything else is an illusion. Let's pray. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.